Nice experience. Yeah. So I would like to maybe in the future have a little maybe guitar or something more complex where you can play with more notes and more. Maybe learn something like that. But I'll see what happens. Will come when it comes, and if not, it's cool. So that was my story.
About doership, not really feeling you are doing. Like there is an experience of apparently you do something, but you feel not like that, not doing. Yes, and it's kind of simultaneous.
Yeah.
Apparently someone do something, but from inside
It's also
you are
watching.
quiet, you are not doing. So sometimes maybe you feel like that, and sometimes it come back to I do identification shifting like that. So
Yeah, that's what I notice. That I sometimes I'm like really in this, and that I just watch everything and everything just happens. Sometimes it's that I do it myself. So it's not I'm not always watching, or I'm always watching, but I'm not always conscious of it.
so there could be I watching like divided. I watch an object which is still separate.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we start like that, doing witnessing the thoughts, the sense of doership, whatever it is. But this is still in the appearance of
Separate.
the dream of time and space, we will say. But when we say you are that, we talk about that, this mystery, then we speak to something which is not involved in that separation. The separation is an expression of that which is not separated. So, as I often say like that, this double message, talking self to self and talking also with the words to the person, to the mind. But the words are not really important. It's more about what they are pointing to, which is so if we beyond the words. So if we stay stuck with words and go too much in non-dualistic understanding Advaita, sometimes we stay lost in the mind. So to cut it straight and to say the words are just pointing to something which is we cannot name it, we cannot say what it is, and that's because for the mind it's we cannot measure it. Like if you would ask to take a measurement of this room with a decimeter, you can do it. You say yes, I can do it. But if we ask you to take measurement of the Pacific Ocean with a decimeter, then with a small instrument you cannot do. So it's something like that for the mind. If you try to describe that, is speechless. But it try, but can't get it. So the words, if we try to understand with the mind and with the words, we stay stuck with the mind and with the words. But the message is pointing to that which is prior to any appearance. Whatever appear, we can first do the neti, not this, not that, not this, not that. We don't buy anything. And then what is left? Maybe we think it is that, but maybe it's still not that. It's still an experience of an appearance, a blank state or anything like that. So we continue to neti, even like that.
Even that you just ignore.
Yeah, whatever, just shift. You see that whatever come was not there before and will disappear. So it's an appearance. So we don't take it. So this is very common. You have heard that millions of times, maybe. This So this message is addressed to that which you are, which is unknowable, untouchable, cannot be killed, cannot be burned, cannot be, nothing can happen to that. But for purpose of a play, by playfulness, we are dreaming to be separate, to have an experience of separation and love. Otherwise, we are like love who doesn't know what it is. So we purposefully pretend to be separate, to have an experience of duality. So hate, love, good, bad, this, that, like that. So just a play, but the thing is, we take it as real, and the drama, it become like a drama, and we really believe it to be real, and we have lost the sense that we are in the matrix, sitting in a comfortable chair, just dreaming to have this experience. But well, as self, we are just sitting in the matrix, in a chair, and we are dreaming all this. But it's so true, so well made. So we are perfect creators. This, but then, when sometimes the actors wonder, is it real? What I'm doing here? I'm tired to be in this good and bad business. So is there a place where I come from, and is this appearance real? Because it does not feel always true what we experience. We experience love or richness or whatever we experience. It feels satisfying for some time, but something feels is not quite enough, because it's trying to fulfill something which is not complete. So it feels incomplete. Sometimes it feels complete, maybe, or sometimes when the ice cream is finished, we feel satisfied for a few minutes, and then after some time again, oh, something else. So because the nature of the first I came out of the absolute is separate, and to be separate, then you feel not complete. So you need attention, love, to fulfill yourself in many different ways, colors, like that. So the tendency is like that, to try to complete myself, because I is incomplete, I is separate. So that's the root of suffering. So Buddha spoke like this also. So many people said Jesus spoke like that. Oh, yeah.
Not touch.
Yeah. So the tendency is try to fix this separation, and thinking it's not normal, and that I have to do some therapies or meditation or this or that, whatever, to fix that.
But it will never fix it.
Yeah, another way of doing is to question the reality of this I and this separateness, and to question, this is self-inquiry, is this I real? What is its nature? So we bring back attention from outer object to subject I, because we can talk about wars in the world, whatever things that I don't like, I would like to change. This, the world, the people, my behavior, my mind, whatever I don't like. But who is experiencing all that? The center of perception, I. So we bring back attention to I. So each time there is a trigger, it can be perceived as an enemy. Why are you talking to me like that? Or whatever, or the world is not good. Or just receive it as a messenger who is touching you, just to bring back attention to the perceiver, I. Always like a reminder, oh, thank you. Lost in the dream, I bring back attention. like that. So what is this I? So you just look without trying to answer with the mind, just bring back attention, withdrawing attention from where it's coming from. So the original attention is, we could call it the absolute attention, which is not divided. But once first I, or maybe the first sound or home or whatever it is come out, then it is a divided attention. That's duality starting, I and so many other I's like that. So recognizing this movement as natural to try to complete yourself. But when this message is heard, that you are that which is prior to that, which is perceiving or perceiving this energy movement, trying to complete itself, always running like that. I'm hungry, I want to eat, or whatever it is. So another thing to also see, is important to see, is that this instinct survival to stay alive, so he will fight to stay in this system of duality, because I want to survive. So I will tend to shift and to avoid to be here with whatever appears, movement. So I will follow, usually will run away from discomfort and go after comfort. So that's, if we understand that, we can see how it's function even at the psychology level, all the mask and protection, armor, to not experience what is not comfortable. Then you can observe the tendency of I to avoid what is not nice, comfortable. So you can learn. There is a notion in I don't know in South India, but in North India, like we use Gurmukh and Mindmukh. So we can learn to differentiate what is Mindmukh and Gurmukh. Gurmukh is more like God's will, and Manmukh is like mind's will. So you learn to differentiate what is coming without time and space, just instantaneous, like that, or what need time and space to express. Like you need to think, deliberate what is right and wrong, like this. So this is more like mind's will. So learning to differentiate what is coming somehow from the center, like this, or what is coming more mind, like that. So sometimes we hesitate, what feels right, or what feels like not so. So sometimes we follow that. If we can recognize that as an escape of, because by fear of facing what is in front, as a response to being just myself, absolutely relative, and feeling whatever I feel like saying no to someone for some. I don't know what will be his reaction, but I have to say that. Maybe I will have to pay some consequences, but I feel strongly this is a line like that. But sometimes we don't do it because we follow by fear.
Yeah.
We follow the mind, and we take a mask, protection, pretending this because we don't be here. So it's to find the strength to stay here and not to face the fear also of what could be the reaction of outside, and to, from your fearlessness, establish yourself in your fearlessness and just follow what you feel like that, which is like in a hospital when you have this machine with flat line like that, or on a screen like that, or it is like that. So this morning it came in my mind like this. You can differentiate which is more coming from the mind, or like a flat line or shruti. So it feels like you feel like being expressing anger, but because the sensor say it's not right, so you follow that. Because my mother say you should not be angry, so you follow that, and you are not aligned with what needs to be expressed at that moment. So instead of being like that, you follow that, and after you feel where this anger is going is going somewhere in the system. And after you need to something. So this is what I would call to be absolutely relative. When something needs to be expressed, to be strong, to do it like that, to let it happen. Not necessarily I do it, but life living itself, expressing itself like that, and you let it like that, in that. So that's how to, because if we just talk about non-duality, Advaita, we can stay in a kind of spiritual bypass and stay stuck somewhere and pretend to be awakened or something. But how to ground this, how to match this with relative aspect. So this is interesting to understand that. It's because the absolute is also in the relative. So I am absolutely relative. So I'm absolute when I'm totally myself. That's why Ramana say, be as you are. He did not say be as you are just as a self, but as in its expression also. Not so. But if we see that we are going like that, also no need to judge. Just for me, I would just say noticing is enough. Notice instead of being you go like that. So just notice, and naturally it will tend to like that, or maybe not. But you just it's not about forcing like that, but to understand how it works and to notice the tendency of I to avoid, and to take some pretending mask and maybe some even the whatever it is, the way of behaving, the clothes or like this. We sometimes play some games, not being really true to ourselves, but just to notice, no judgment. No, it's not necessary to judge, but just to be with that. And because the more you do self-inquiry, the more you see that I is not really real, and also free will not really real. You also see that it's not even you who bring it from there to here. It's just the more this is somehow heard, the more naturally it tends you see that here, not your physical place, but this eternal now is your nature, and this is a ultimate security. This is a fake security when you want to be in some pretending mass protection, fears. So the mind thinks it's a security, safety, but it's not stable. So we will hide there for some time, but it's not stable because you have to go. Whatever is in this shift, but this is absolute security because that's you, what you are. Even if the appearance of outside seems to be challenging, if I tell you no, this, for example, maybe you other one will react something. So maybe it will be like little something, but you feel you're totally aligned with the expression like that. So it's interesting to bring that that also not just non-duality Advaita, but also to somehow ground it like that. So could you clear?
Yeah, clear. But maybe is there more pointer to differentiating between the flat line and the I don't know what word, the small mind, or
Yeah.
Is there any what method maybe you using to differentiate between that and that, apart from just really feeling into it?
So, like kinesiology.
Can
Some people do like that to test if yes, no, or whatever, or like this, whatever. Some people do different ways. Yes. Yeah. So to test, you know how it works.
I don't know. I never heard.
So when you never not,
I've heard the word, but I have no.
so it's like this. You test. You take a food, for example, and you or a person say, is it good for me? Maybe this is yes, strong is yes, and this no.
Oh, okay.
So you test yes, no, yes, no,
Uh-huh.
for everything. So you can do it for everything. I started to learn some years back, but I understood the principle. So the same. If you do, you think about, you have question about something. How do you feel about it? Then you can do like a test, but you just does it sound right or doesn't sound like that?
Yeah.
You see, right? And this is like kinesiology, but you do it like mind's will or God's will. At the end, both are God's will because there is nothing outside of the self or God. But just for the sake of practical tool in the dream, we can differentiate between mind's will and God's will. And you just learn to differentiate like that. So that's very interesting game. And it's connected to the it's full meditation 24/7. Whatever you interact with people, or if you are in a relationship, also is very interesting to whatever situation like that. So you just in which you observe the tendency of avoidance like this, but not also subtle, because if you try to, for example, so I should not avoid, it can also become a control. So it's tricky, but
Always tricky.
yes.
Always
So it's
when you think you get it, then you look, I was fooled again. Like it's constantly.
but yeah, but somehow when you are really here, it's clear because yes, and it's like I like this word apperceiving that Nisargadatta use sometimes. Apperceive. It's like englobing perception, not a subject perceiving an object. So it's like if you just feel you are more like kind of in a blank state and just perceiving, but without separation. Sometimes it's just you are just in that state of perceiving, not separate. And sometimes you can be both. You can perceive, but I perceiving something like that. So you can be at one state at a time, or shift from state to state, or sometimes you can have simultaneous state of consciousness. But none of them is what really that. What you are is like the screen, but you shift from one to the other continuously. And the mistake is to also mistake. There is no really mistake, but to take a state for that, like the ultimate, and then you teach that and think that's it. Then you try to hold to that. So whatever you try to hold on to, it makes you dependent on something, whatever it is. So, but as shifting it's like a beggar who tend to shift if it is trying to hold. Otherwise, it's just natural movement. But our nature, I would say, is more like king, so we don't need to be like beggar is a separate one because he separates, so he begs. But our nature is like we are the king, the kingdom of God. So yes, playing to be separate and to beg like that. So
We're already in heaven.
yeah, in truth, we are the Garden of Eden, as we talked this morning, or the Garden of Eden. And always you can see like that. the temptation to buy the God tell don't buy the apple, the tree of knowledge. Don't approach the tree of knowledge. So the tree of knowledge is I. We want to know and controlling. But if you stay as a child, not needing to know, and you don't buy.
It's the
So
first
you-
lesson of the Bible.
Huh?
It's the first lesson of Christianity. Like,
Yeah, so this is the kingdom of God, I would say, and this is eating the apple or the tree of knowledge. So because the first movement is to I come out of the garden and trying to know itself. Oh, I want to know myself. God said, no, don't try. Just stay as a child, enjoy the garden, heaven, whatever. But but then say, oh, I want to know myself. You buy the apples, tree of knowledge, and then you're already in the dream, already. So, and this is so by trying to know yourself, you separate yourself, and then you start to be in that, and tend to be in this game of controlling slave master. Always I separate. So you play sometimes as the master, sometimes the slave, controlling. So this is like that. You could say like that, and this is kingdom of God is that. Just you don't do anything. You just stay here. You are in kingdom of heaven here. This what you are, or the self, or the Tao, or the nature, Buddha nature. So you never moved. So the dream continued, but you never moved. So you can, yes. So as a child, sometimes I say knowing without knowing, seeing without seeing, hearing without hearing. It's like seeing with the absolute eye, or hearing with the absolute ear. You don't need to use the mind to hear that what you are, or to hear that message. You don't need to see what also said again in the Bible, single eye, same. So it's like being that's why they refer to it like a child, knowing without knowing. A child would say, oh, I know I am that, but I don't need to explain. So very simple. So for the heart of a child, it's very simple, or for the absolute heart. But for the mind, is tough because you want to possess, control, understand like that. But the more you are here, then life is living itself, and you don't need to do anything. You don't need to understand anything from this, maybe from the surface, but like that. So then life is easy and living by itself, and you don't feel I have a life. I am a soul in a body who has a life, which already is heavy. But if you feel like life is living through me, life, you don't need to say me even. Life is living, and just whatever happens. Like a river. So, but the old is like we could say the new, but the old always tend to come back and to try to drag you to the old movement, like that. So it's putting you back to like that. So it's normal because a bit to protect yourself and to behind fears and masks, whatever it is. So, but you notice it, and
But it makes no difference.
from the outside, no. From the outside, the
Yes.
movie is continuing the same, but the perception is
Yes.
because now you sit in heaven. Maybe sometime you lose again, go into the identification or dream, but when you come back, you don't need to judge yourself like that. So you just, oh, I've been dreaming, no problem. Yes. Otherwise, it become a control. I need to be all the time present, aware, and control everything. Then it's another control like that. So that what you are is whether you are aware or not aware, absent or present, you are that in all any expression. Otherwise, it's again a burden. You have to be aware. You have to be conscious. You have to be. You have again. You make it. You put it in time. You have to mean dividing, putting in time. But when it is said you are that, which does not need to do anything to be what you are, then it's instantaneous release. Or if it is heard like that. Otherwise, it's again binding. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. But if you are tired enough to postpone and to put always in time, I have to do that to reach like that, then you say, oh. Sometimes I say I have no money to buy any suggestion from the mind. I need to be realized, I need to be awakened, I need to do whatever. Mind always so many ideas, but if you don't buy them, you say, I have no money, I spend everything. It's like about 3,575 lives I had. I spent all my money. Now I cannot buy any concept, ideas. Finished. Then what can the seller say? He will try to sell you, but you have no.
What if he gives it to you for free?
Huh?
What if he offers it for free?
But you know that.
No, I'm joking.
I know, but you will say no. I don't trust that. Nothing. It's not free.
Yeah, but
From this business, it's not free. It will. The devil will appear like it's free. Oh, take it. It's free. Oh, so nice.
There's always a catch. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, it's very easy, but for the mind, it's very difficult. Because it's made like that. Finally, it's okay. I was not feeling so comfortable less with people here, too close, but now it's
Place for ourselves.
anything to bring on the table or under the table.
It's really helpful, especially the point of perceiving.
Can you speak louder?
Yes, I try. You pointed out when you perceive something, for example, as oneness, as all in one package, and at another time you are both, also an I, but at the same time everything is like oneness, so you are
Multi.
at the same time in your
State.
body, but the body is in you, and so
Is what?
is in you. It feels like this, and after these experiences, trying to get back or hold it, and it's every time there are new experiences like this, and even it with more sense of truth, and then I go like, oh, now I got it. Now I have to hold this. Now I have to deepen this. Now I have to whatever.
Yes.
And then it's gone.
Yeah,
You
and it's
perpetrate the
gone.
beggar. Yes.
Yeah, but even this and even the play of falling back and you get identified with mind and suffering and so on is all in the same nothing space, whatever. This is helpful because yes.
The sense that you have to achieve something is somehow seen as not true.
Yes.
I mean, like it's a natural movement of energy, but For what you are, it has no meaning.
Yes. So why not enjoying the whole game?
Yes, why not just being that in spite of any movement of energy? Like that, any experience?
Mm.
High, low, bliss, shit.
Yes. Falling back, getting forward.
Yeah, because if you try to hold on to bliss, and at some point, oh, like that, shit again.
And I think it's also natural movement. Nothing can be. It's not possible always bliss or always shit. It's when you see the movement in nature. It's always like this sinus curve. I don't know in English.
Waves, sinusoidal.
Yes. When it's going high, it's normal. It's going. This is a natural movement of life,
Yes.
and we don't have to catch it.
Energy is moving. It's natural, shifting from experience to experience, state to state.
Like a heartbeat. Like at one point you have a lot of oxygen in your body, and then you don't have like almost no oxygen, and then you need to contract again, a lot
Yes,
less, a lot less, a lot.
It's like a pulse of life.
Yeah.
I think the tantra, they call it spanda, something like that. Pulsation.
Ah, pulsing.
Pulsing like that.
Like the universe.
Yes, or yin yang, or yes. So, like to see little thing, it reminds me when we were on the motorbike, scooter recently. I know it came in my mind. It seems so when people say enlightened people. It just sounds so ridiculous. Enlightened souls. Well, I saw some posters. Enlightened masters or something or stuff like that. It's like seems from there it seems like no substance, no meaning, no meaning. I am an enlightened master. Do you want to be enlightened too?
Me?
Yes, you. Me want to be enlightened. Who else want to be enlightened? Only me. Who else is interested in that? The self is not interested. The self is the self. But me want to be enlightened. But it will never happen. Because me belong to the dream, and me dream to be out, to go
I
out.
can never be enlightened.
I know.
I can never.
No, I can never be enlightened.
Because it belongs to the dream. So when someone say enlightened master, it's like I pretend to be enlightened. How is it possible? It's funny to hear that. So we are enlightened enough for today, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
Outside.
No, peacock.
It's like a blessing, you know, it come to bless us.
Peacock at the
It's the second little.
Last time also we came.
Last time was female.
Last time a woman, this time it's a man.
It's the yin and the yang.
Young.
Young. Oh, yes, young. No.
No?
Yeah.
Are
So,
you?
so if you want to be blessed all the time, you have to keep a lot of those animals around.
Peacocks.
Yeah, a lot of peacocks. Start a peacock farm, and then you're always blessed.
Last time maybe I stopped you, right? I don't know if you. Yes.